Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a discussion about the nature of a human person. Before we begin talking about the soul, let's remind ourselves of something easy to overlook. The word psychiatry comes from two Greek words, psyche meaning soul and atria meaning healing. So whether we realize it or not, whenever we talk about psychiatry or even psychology, we are really talking about the soul. Therefore, it makes sense to slow down and ask a very basic question. What do we actually mean by soul? And yeah, I ultimately mean the human soul understood in its original philosophical Greek sense. In the Aristotelian tradition, as we previously discussed, the soul and life are inseparable. You can't really understand one without the other, and Aristotle thought that every substance, without exception, is made up of two principles, matter and form. Matter is what something is made of. Form is what makes it the kind of thing that it is. A chair isn't a chair because of the wood alone. It's a chair because the wood is now organized in a setting in a particular way because it has chairness. That organizing principle is form. Now, a living thing is still made of matter and form, just like a rock, but there is a crucial difference. A rock can only be acted on from the outside. It's pushed, heated, broken, but it never acts on itself. A living thing is different. It can act from within. It grows, repairs itself, it metabolizes, it sustains its own existence. Aristotle called these immanent actions, that is, actions that begin from within the thing and remain within the thing. That internal principle of activity is what distinguishes life from non-life. The simplest kind of life is able to extract matter from their environment and incorporate it into themselves, but they do not take on the form of what they absorb. This is what Aristotle called vegetative life. Plants exemplify this kind of life. When a plant takes in nutrients, it doesn't become what it consumes. It keeps its own form while absorbing matter alone. Plants nourish themselves, grow, and reproduce. That principle is called the vegetative soul. And notice already, when Aristotle talks about the soul, he's not talking about a ghost in the machine. He's talking about the form of a living body. Now, animals go a step further. They retain all the properties of plants, nutrition, growth, and reproduction. But animals do not merely take in matter the way plants do. Instead, they take in the individual representation, a pseudo kind of form of another thing without absorbing its matter. When a cat sees a mouse, in this act of perception, the cat does not absorb the mouse physically. The mouse remains exactly what it is. What changes is the cat. The cat receives an internal representation of the mouse, its shape, movement, and presence. Aristotle and Aquinas called this representation a phantasm. This is fundamentally different from nutrition. When one eats, the object changes and the eater stays the same. In perception, the perceiver changes while the object does not. From perception comes emotion. From emotion comes movement. Once a cat perceives a mouse, desire or fear can arise, and that inclination can lead the cat to move itself toward the mouse or away from danger. This level of life is governed by what Aristotle called the sensitive soul. It includes perception, emotion, and locomotion or movement. It is a higher level of formal activity than plant life, but animal perception remains entirely tied to the body. This is because animals receive individual, concrete representations, which is a hallmark of matter. Their phantasms are always particular. Their awareness never rises to the level of universals. They are fully material. And this is where human beings enter the picture. Human beings share everything plants and animals have. We eat, we grow, we perceive, we feel, we move, but we do something no other animal can do. Humans don't merely take in matter like plants, and we don't merely take in individual representations like animals. We take in the form itself, the universal, and we do so without taking in the matter. When you see a cat, you don't just register this particular animal the way an animal would. You understand catness. You grasp what it means to be a cat in general, and that's a radical shift. A particular is finite, concrete and fixed, a universal is not. A universal applies to an unlimited number of instances. You can't touch catness, justice, or triangularity. These things are not material. And here's a key insight. If we can know immaterial realities such as universals and forms, then there must be something in us that is itself immaterial. This is where Aristotle and Aquinas locate the rational soul, which is unique to the human being. The rational soul includes two powers that go beyond the material order, the intellect and the will. And we'll talk about this in detail in future discussions, but the intellect allows us to grasp universals, truth, and meaning. The will allows us to choose, not just between this object or that object, but between goods understood in an abstract way, in a universal way. This is why human freedom is different from animal behavior and goes over and beyond emotion. We don't merely react, we deliberate. Now, it's crucial to avoid a misunderstanding. The soul is not a little person inside the body, as we've said. It's not a ghost driving the machine. The soul is the form of the body. And just as every part of a chair shares in chairness, every part of you shares in your human substantial form, your soul. Every human function flows from it. Thinking, feeling, remembering, choosing, acting. And here's the paradox of the human person. It needs the body to know the world through the senses, yet its highest operations are not reducible to the body. It is materially embodied, and yet it is immaterially active. It stands at the boundary between the physical and the immaterial, the visible and the universal, the biological and the rational. And that, in the classical tradition, is what we mean by soul. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.